Hey everybody, welcome to Outsider Reviews. And today we are meeting with our very special insider. He has his own YouTube page, which I'll put in the description. It's Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. Johnny, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Now, before we get started, tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel.
Well, thank you. My YouTube channel is Johnny's Car Care and Reviews, and it's all about trying to save people thousands of dollars when they shop, as well as while they own, while they maintain the vehicle. Because I think a lot in the industry is all about, don't buy this, do buy that, because that's what kind of brings in the people. It's what gets the views. And I try to have very much more of a balanced view, more of a reasonable view. I think, hey, a Mercedes 500 SL that's 15 years old can be a fantastic used vehicle if you know what you're getting yourself into. And it's just about more knowledge. I always end my show saying, I wish everyone more cars and more power. But personally, I'm also definitely about that philosophy, but I'm also about just more knowledge. I think the more real actual data and real things that we know, the better we're going to be served and the easier it's going to be to save thousands. Especially, you look at the modern shopping experience. We've heard in the last 2 years people having all sorts of trouble with dealers, some dealers being very fair and being very good and for the client, and then you've got other dealers marking things up. So there are definite ways in today's industry and things we need to know and that I want to share so that people can save thousands.
Yes, absolutely. And the reason why we wanted you on the show is because you are advocating a lot for the customers, and that's what Outsider Reviews also advocates for. So that's a big reason why we have you here, and that you're the subject matter expert because you're an insider. You come from a Ford background, I believe.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So a lot of these questions today, folks, are going to be a little bit more oriented towards Ford, but also the auto market as a whole, since Johnny does quite a lot of research, just like we do, and he gets all the news. So definitely go check out his channel. I'll put the link in the description to his channel as well as the end screen. So if you
I
don't
have
mind,
really,
Johnny, we're just gonna get started on our first question.
yes, sir.
All right, so Ford has been talking a lot about switching to direct to consumer. And that approach, I know a lot of people are saying, yeah, do like Tesla, it takes 15 minutes to buy a car and such. My approach is that this may not be benefiting, especially that the consumer. It's, big companies don't always look to benefit the consumers. But what is your opinion, especially from the dealer's perspective and from the consumer?
Lots of pros and cons, and I'm with you on this. I think there's a lot of dangerous cons that aren't going to benefit the consumer unless this is pulled off in a hybrid version. So, you know, one thing that, and I'll try to cover this in a quick manner with sort of bulletin points, but when you've got direct to consumer, you either have to have incredibly informed consumers, which Tesla, especially early on, where they had, people who were into electric vehicles when there were essentially none, were all very much experts. A lot of engineers were buying, scientists, professors. Uh, and with the price of the vehicles, a lot of these people were used to spending hours researching things. A lot of these people had master's degrees, doctor's degrees, and a big portion of these people were engineers. And that's fine if you're going to have direct consumer with no, sales consultant to help you, which sales consultants, if they're, sales people and they're only thinking about sales and not consulting, they have a whole host of problems that they can bring to the table and to the equation as well. And this is why I think a hybrid system is needed. I know Ford has talked very much, at first, Jim Farley's first proclamation towards this was we're going to have direct sales. And then some people got upset, and others were saying, we're bringing out the very true point of, well, What about when you're not an expert? What about when you don't want to spend 5 or 6 hours of your own research? And what about when YouTube just doesn't like your model? So, and I've got a nice little example of that, but a lot of people don't want to spend, 6, 12 hours of their own time doing their own research. So it can definitely be nice when you have someone who's more consultant than sales guy or gal, and that they're really going to consult you based on what you're looking for, your needs, and your wants. The internet doesn't do that for you. You got to kind of figure it out on yourself. I've had my own personal experience trying to sell myself a Bronco, and it was the worst sales experience I've ever had in my life because, well, the Ford Bronco is, well, there's lots of models. They're within the models, there are subcategories, and it took me, I think it was 7 months to pick out the vehicle, and I spent at least 2 hours every single week trying to figure this puzzle out. And in the end, I talked to my brother, who's been a sales consultant for almost 30 years, and I couldn't believe it. I didn't consult myself in the sense of he just asked me, basically to really summarize it quickly, what do you want? What do you need? And then ask me follow-up questions. How often are you really going to off-road? How extreme are you really going to off-road? Okay, but you'll do some medium off-road, maybe some extreme off-road once or twice. So he was able to get me into realizing that the Badlands was the perfect model for me because while I could spend more money, I didn't really want to spend more money because I'm inherently someone who tries to get a good bargain. So there are dangers with the direct to sales. A good example, I know of someone who was watching a lot of YouTube and they're like, you know what? I'm not crazy. When they ordered their Ford F-150 Lightning, they said, you know what? I know everything. I know I'm going to lose 50% charge in the winter, and I know I'm going to lose 50% charge when I'm towing. And I said, do you understand if you tow in the winter, 50% divided by 50%, you end up with 1/4 of that original 515 kilometer or roughly 375 miles of autonomy. He's like, I told you I know what I'm talking about. I've done all my research. I'm not a dummy. I want to order it. Here's my deposit. So the customer orders the vehicle. And so far, he had done all the work on his own, all the research on his own. Vehicle comes in. Again, all the research was done on his own. So now the answer is, well, I'm not stupid. I'm not taking a F-150 Lightning. I've seen the reviews. I see that in the winter I'm going to lose 50%. And only because the reviews were negative towards losing 50% of your range in the winter and 50% of your range when towing. His words, to paraphrase, were, I'm not an idiot. I'm not buying this vehicle. Everyone says it's horrible. And then I asked, I did the consulting part. Well, I'm like, thank you very much. Good to know. Well, what is your use on the vehicle? What do you need it for? And then within asking 5, 6 questions, he's like, wow, this is the perfect vehicle for me. I'm not going to spend any money on gas. If I were to buy a gas version, yes, I'd save 10,000, but I like to keep my vehicles for 20 years, 15 to 20 years. So in the end, on his own, but through precise questions, he was able to realize that his vehicle was perfect for him. So I think what I'm trying to say is if Ford goes to the ultimate direct sales model, they're going to lose out. They're going to lose a lot of customers that are going to watch YouTube videos, and they're going to go sort of with le goût du jour, the whatever's popular and trending. And right now, that's fine. Ford is popular and trending on almost every model they produce. So, essentially the vehicles can sell themselves. But what happens when you don't have the most eye-catching, mouth-watering model available? Well, then you go back to actually needing to, ideally, if you want to sell more units, move more metal, you need people there who are going to be able to consult people, which I think sometimes also means telling someone, I've told people also before, I've told someone, I don't think the Lightning is a good vehicle for you. You drive to Montreal for your business, you're in construction, and I said, the only way the Lightning is going to work for you is if you're willing to stop halfway through and, stop for 30 minutes and recharge, or you have your trailer towed by another gasoline truck. And because their business isn't big enough to have two teams that are moving out into a city that's quite far away, they're only one team. Well, I consulted them to not take the vehicle, and they ended up getting an F-150 hybrid instead. So I think the consultation process really saves people a lot of time. And then the question is, how should it really save people money? I think what people really like about the Tesla model, and I think this is where Ford has put their finger on something really important, people don't want to mess around with price. I've been working at a Ford dealership, and I'm very much involved because I like the model of the business. It's a family-owned business for 60 years. 10% of their business is a co-op, so I bought into that co-op very, very heavily because I believe in their business model, and it's about serving people in a manner that makes them kind of feel like part of the family. Partie des immeubles, as we can say in French for anyone on your channel that wants to learn a little French. But it's
We
very
do
much
have some
about,
French people watching the channel because it's a bilingual channel, and I do have some
oh,
French
fantastic.
reviews up there. So I definitely have a few people down the road here that pretty much speak a lot of French. So that concludes like our first part of the interview with Johnny from Johnny's Car Care and Review. He's got some very good insight. He does work at a Ford dealer, and he has his own YouTube channel, does his own very research. So we're very good to have him as one of our insiders to add that to our family of insiders, where we can give you guys the most up-to-date information, the most accurate as possible. One thing to take away is in this particular episode of should Ford be going to direct to sales model, I'm going to go and say that Outsider Reviews does not believe that that's the best for the consumers because their prices are going to be fixed and there's not going to be any kind of extra rebates. What I mean by that is when times are hard, which I think we're going to go into in the next few months. Sales had already started decreasing. When times are going to be harder for the dealers, you have manufacturer rebates, which you get from Ford, but you're also going to get dealer rebates on top of that, depending if you're dealing with a dealer who has a lot of inventory and having a hard time moving that inventory. So keep watching this channel. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed the content. Subscribe to the channel so that way you get notified and hit that notification bell just to get notified when we come out with other videos. There's another part to this interview which we did with Johnny, and he's getting joined in with Junior as well, our own insider that works for Nissan. So we're getting lots of insiders, and at the end, we're just gonna resume, basically conclude what we learned throughout all this. So always stick through the channel all the way till the end. Until then, we'll see you later.